Hello, I'm David Stratton. I'm talking now about Churchill, Australian director Jonathan Teplitzky's new film. And the film is concerned with just 4 days in the political leader's life, the days leading up to and including the D-Day landings in June 1944, Operation Overlord, as it was called. According to the screenplay by Alex von Tunzelmann, Churchill, who was then 70 years old, was suffering from severe fits of depression, black dog, as his doctors called it. He was prone to this kind of depression, had been for a long time. But in this case, he was deeply fearful that the invasion of Normandy would be another catastrophe like the Gallipoli landings, the Gallipoli campaign, that he had masterminded about 30 years earlier. And he was fearful that he would be blamed, as he was back in 1915. Churchill, so cleverly impersonated by Brian Cox in the film, argues bitterly with his commanding officers, with Montgomery, Julian Wadham, who seemingly can't stand him. Montgomery actually tells him that his last speech was full of doubt, dithering, and treachery. And he quarrels with Eisenhower, John Slattery, who is patient with him up to a point, but who tells him, "You are trying to win the last war."
You must remember, Ike, we fought the Germans in France before. Even if you break through in Normandy, even with the massive casualties, civilian and military, what will our boys face in France? Another Western Front? Passchendaele? The Somme? Trench warfare?
Winston, we have an air force. We have self-propelled artillery, armored divisions. The age of pushing infantry to the front is over.
Operation Overlord is not the only way of winning this war. I should know. I've seen a great many wars.
Sure. Some of them in the last century.
I beg your pardon.
The war you're talking about was 30 years ago. I don't think you truly appreciate how much things have moved on.
Churchill claims the invasion plan is foolhardy, that it will end in tragedy, and he literally prays that bad weather will prevent the invasion. His aide, the former Boer leader, Jan Smuts, Richard Durden, is constantly concerned about him, as is Clementine, Miranda Richardson, his long-suffering wife. Matters come to a head when he demands to be allowed to take part personally in the invasion. He even asserts that King George VI, James Purefoy, will also sail with the Allied armada onto the beaches. And this fanciful notion is very quickly quashed by the king himself. Constantly wreathed in cigar smoke, with a tumbler of whiskey never far away, Churchill, as depicted here, is as far from a great wartime leader as it's possible to imagine. How close to the truth all of this is, I can't say, but it makes for some powerful drama. Cox is magnificent as Churchill, and praise is due, I think, to Kate Hall, who's credited with hair and makeup. And the rest of the cast, though, I must admit they don't always look very much like the people that they're supposed to portray. They do everything that's expected of them. The film seems to have been made on a fairly modest budget. There are no scenes of warfare, but it's none the worse for that. It's not in the same class as Jonathan Teplitzky's endearing Australian comedy Getting Square, made in 2003, but it's far from negligible. I think you'll enjoy it. I'm giving it 3.5.